Yep. Well, good. Well, thanks for the intro, David, and I'll introduce myself. My name is Mark L. Last name is spelled E-L-L, and you're going to hopefully come to know me as your financial advisor for your 401k. And as David mentioned, the current 401k program that's at PAI is being moved to a new provider. And that's the first screenshot that is on the screen now. You're going to come to know the name of the plan provider is Retirement Plan Consultants. And so I'll show you what their logo looks like here. That it's at the top of the screen. So ultimately, our goal today is to talk about enrollment, but I also want to talk to you about investments and a little bit about retirement planning and what my role is. So my company name is called Alpha Capital Management Group, and as a financial advisor that specializes in 401k plan, I know the nuances of 401ks inside and out. I've been doing this for several years, and it's all that I specialize in. Our firm, of course, does everything under the hood when it comes to advisory. My specific role is 401k plan. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone had the understanding that my firm as a financial advisor is Alpha Capital. Our 401k provider is Retirement Plan Consultants. And so we're going to talk about enrollment today. So how this is going to look for you is there's a very seamless process for you to move from PAI to Retirement Plan Consultants. And as David mentioned, there's this thing called a blackout notice. And the IRS always comes up with these funny names. And to me, when I hear blackout, I think of all kinds of different things, but it's kind of a scary word. You know, it doesn't have a positive overtone of any sort to it. But to reassure you, your involvement in the 401k plan with PAI, as it relates to the transition with our new provider, Retirement Plan Consultants, will be seamless. In other words, there's going to be no lapse in your ability to contribute into your plan. You're always going to be invested, and it's just at some point in time, the light switch will turn off with the old provider and turn on with the new. And so in order for the light switch to turn on to your new 401k plan, we have to enroll. So this is open enrollment. And it's going to be a very easy online process to accomplish. The screen that I have up here right now has a Let's Get Started at the top. And notice very specifically there's a website address that's noted there. Following right below that is going to be a temporary password, all in uppercase, HOTTSOLU. So we all know what that it stands for. And the reason why that's important is because you're going to log that in as a temporary passcode to then allow you to start your enrollment. I'm going to scroll down to show you some screenshots of what the website is going to look like. Apologize here while the screens are catching up on your side. Down a little bit further. Okay. So as far as the time frame, you know, today is Thursday. You know, the goal would be probably by Monday or Tuesday. You know, give yourselves 3 or 4 or 5 days, of which a weekend is included, to complete this online enrollment process. And once you get to that website address, in this upper left-hand box, and even in the upper left-hand side of that gray box, there's a yellow plus sign that says online enrollment. When you click that, it's going to bring up this next middle box for you to put in that temporary passcode. And then once that's keyed in there, you'll start the enrollment process by entering all of your personal data, starting with your social, date of birth, and so forth. And that'll take you through the enrollment process. I won't necessarily show you any other screens after that because it's all very intuitive and straightforward. One thing I can mention is that we had sent David an email earlier this morning that has all of these PDFs. There's very, very clear directions in the email that we had sent David that he could simply forward to you so that you all have it in hand. So don't worry so much about writing things down or, you know, gosh, what did he say? You're all going to get this information, if not already have received it. Any questions so far on what to expect and timeframes and enrollment and so forth? All good? Okay. One of the things that I'm going to show you is the investment selections in your 401k plan. But before I dive into this detail, just know in the back of your mind that during the enrollment process, you're essentially going to answer 4 questions. The first one is going to be, do I want to start saving for my retirement, or do I want to waive my right to do so? And in other words, say no. So hopefully that's not the response. We're hoping that everyone that's eligible can start their 401k plan and start saving for your retirement. And that's going to be the first question. The second question that you'll be involved with during the enrollment process is the how much question. Because each of you get to start saving right from your paycheck right into your 401k account. That's why America Saves this way, is because it's super easy for you to do that. Unlike normal savings methods where money goes into your checking account and then you've got to remember to siphon it off and move it somewhere, this comes directly from payroll. So it makes it very, very accommodating. And the how much question is going to be particular to each and every one of you. I'd like to share some numbers with you, though, to help you out. The lowest level of participation that I would recommend is 5%. And the reason why is because Hott Solutions has a company safe harbor match. And in order for you to capture that full 4% company match, you as an individual have to contribute 5% or greater to capture that. Now, if you do contribute less than 5%, you still will get a company match. It's just going to be a lesser amount. And the formula is 100% on the first 3% of your contributions, and then 50% on the next 2. So that sounds super complicated, just like the IRS always is. So essentially, if you contribute 1%, your match is 1%. If you can contribute 2%, your match is 2. Same goes for 3. If you were to contribute 4%, your match is 3.5. It's when you go 5% or greater that your match is 4%. So the benefit of a safe harbor is fantastic. That 4% company match that's being offered to you is something that is to reward you for your hard work, your effort, your ability to stay employed and be putting your best foot forward all the time. It's part of your benefit package, and you should take advantage of that. It's a fantastic benefit. Another number on the how much I can share with you is 8%. The reason why I like to mention 8% is that's because that's our U.S. national average for all 401k participants in our country is 8%. So use it as a watermark as to where you might want to be in consideration of the average in the U.S. As a financial advisor, I would say 10% or greater. So 10% would be my recommendation. Now, most people sometimes can't start there. If you can, great. What some people will do is start at 5, next year go to 6, the year after go to 7, or maybe you get a raise and go to 8, and so forth. The goal is to try to get to 10 or anything greater at some point. So that answers the how much. Now, the next question that is usually very, very relevant to the 401k plan is whether you want to do pre-tax contributions or Roth contributions. It's still 401k. Sometimes the word Roth throws people off, but what we're simply talking about here is whether you want to put in a pre-tax contribution into your account or an after-tax contribution into your account, which is known as Roth. And that's all personal to you as to what you would like to decide, and it's based on typically your thoughts about your taxes. So if you're in your younger years and you're in a lower tax bracket because maybe your earnings are a little bit lower than some people in their later years in their career, the younger people tend to like Roth because you're in a low tax bracket, and I just as soon put my after-tax dollars to work for me. If you're in a higher tax bracket and you need those deductions today from your payroll, then a lot of people choose the pre-tax method. So maybe I'll pause there because there's usually a few questions or two on the difference between pre-tax and Roth.
Any questions
Okay.
from our team in San Mateo? No? Any questions online? Sounds like you're good.
All right. I do want to make one other comment about pre-tax and Roth. So in your 401k plan, it's very common to do this pre-tax method. So let's just say, for an example, you have a $1,000 paycheck and you decide to save 10%. That means $100 is going to go into your 401k account. And under the pre-tax method, you're only going to get taxed on $900 worth of earnings. So your net take-home pay isn't affected that full amount of that $100. In fact, if you're in a 20% tax bracket, your check's only going to drop $80 instead of that full 100. So it allows us to save by taking advantage of the pre-tax method that's available to us. Now, keep in mind, when you retire, all of those balances that have accrued to a lump sum, when you pull those out, whether it's a little bit at a time or all at once, Uncle Sam is going to have you pay tax on those distributions. So again, under the pre-tax method, you take advantage of the no tax going in, you pay tax when it comes out at point of retirement. Now with Roth, since you already paid the tax going in your current year today, when you retire, all that money becomes yours. You can take it out whenever you want, even including all the earnings, and it's non-taxed. So that's another difference between pre-tax and Roth that you want to consider. In either event, when you enroll, you're never obligated, if you pick one or the other, that you're stuck. These are things that can be changed at any time. So if you want to start pre-tax and then migrate to Roth, that's great. If you choose Roth now and want to move to pre-tax later, that's fine too. So don't get terrified about making the decision today. It's something that can always be changed. So the fourth and final question, now that I've had the screen up for what seems to be several minutes,
Well, actually,
is the investment.
I'm sorry, Mark.
Go ahead.
I have a quick question for you, and only, I think, more for clarification for people. So can you clarify that if you choose to make that change, I would assume then funds already pre-contributed under a pre-tax stay as pre-tax funds, and those that are then contributed post-tax will be post-tax, to make sure people understand that changing that does not change the condition of what you've already invested.
Yes, and David, you're absolutely correct. And another way to reiterate or further explain that exact topic is when you look at your 401k plan and you log online, you see your balance. That balance is kept track of in different what we call money types. Because the IRS wants to know, when they pick on you, what can I tax and what do I have to leave alone? And so you're going to have your grand total in your account, but it's going to be made up of what you put in as an employee, whether it's pre-tax or Roth, and what your safe harbor match is, or any other different money types. Maybe it's the rollover from your PAI account, which is either pre-tax or Roth. All of these different money types will be kept track of, and it will obviously add up to one grand total, but we're going to definitely keep track of it on your statement. So whatever you contribute into your pre-tax stays there throughout the whole time. Whatever goes into your Roth bucket, if you will, stays in that bucket. I always like to tell people that your safe harbor match always goes into your pre-tax bucket. So your 401k plan is like a vehicle, and in that vehicle you've got different passengers of different types of money, all adding up to your grand total. So a long-winded answer to the question, but it is all going to be kept track of.
Thank you.
You know, another. I'm sorry. Was there another question?
No, that's good. Thank you.
Oh, okay. The fourth and final question that people answer in the 401k enrollment process is, where do I invest my money? And this gets to be very difficult for some people. For others, this is very interesting to you, and you like this kind of stuff. For, again, like for many others, it's not. It's not where we spend our time on our weekends diving into the ticker symbol of some mutual fund so that we can learn about its investment performance and so forth. So that's why I have a job, and that's why I like to educate people. There is no personal gain for me to make my investment recommendations. One of my designations is an accredited investment fiduciary. What that means is all of my advice to you is going to be in your best interest. My fee for being your advisor is a flat fee, so there's no real growth for me to see your account balance to go up in value for me to make more money with. Of course, I do want you to see your account go up, but I don't self-benefit from that. In fact, my fee as your financial advisor is being covered by the organization, and it's not even going to be part of the expense that you have to share. So I want you to have some trust that if you were to call me to ask me about investments in your own particular account, that I'm going to answer with my best ability with your best interest in mind. So with that being said, every single quarter, we're going to send you our investment allocation guide. And that's what you see on screen here. Notice, if you can see, it's dated October. We're going to recast this entire spreadsheet and send it to you next week. We're a little bit late and behind on the Morningstar data reporting services that we subscribe to in our software, so I don't have the end of December, call it the January report, quite ready, but it will be ready by Tuesday, Wednesday next week. The goal behind this is for us to create a pick of the litter of investment choices that will work for you based on your risk tolerance as an individual. Every person that's on this call is going to be a different emotionally charged investor. Some are very conservative over the course of time. Some people are aggressive. Some people are middle of the road moderate. Your risk tolerance really drives your behavior. And so we've created 5 models to make a specific model for each and every one of you to have something to pick from. What I can tell you about this investment, oh yes,
What happens to the investments we're already in? Are you going to follow those same investments? Do you have the same funds? Or do we have to reallocate them completely?
So we can do that one of 2 ways. The one way that's common is for all of your current investment choices can get mapped over into an age-appropriate target date fund. And once they've been received there with our new provider, you can then redeploy them into self-pick whatever investment selections you'd like. That's one choice. The second choice is to do mapping, which means that if you're currently in an international fund with PAI, we would map it over to a like-kind fund. It'll have a different name, but it will map it over to like funds. That's the second approach. And we still have that decision to make sometime here in the near future.
And so that you're aware, Mark, and this might be a conversation offline, that Guidant actually used our existing 401k plan to formulate the new plan. So they created the same fund funds available.
Oh, okay.
That's why I
Gotcha.
asked, because I had understood that, and then it didn't sound that way from what Mark said.
Yeah.
Today. But as you pointed out, there is an opportunity after this, if you want to realign that. Obviously, you can always change whether you have decided now that you are more aggressive and you are moderate, that you can always go in and change that at any time you wish, including after enrollment. And when you're done, we'll have a question that'll play off of that, but I'll let you continue your presentation.
Okay.
I have a question. Are there fees for reallocating the distribution?
I'm happy to tell you the answer is no. And that's one of the beautiful things about a 401k plan is that when you log in and you decide you want to move some mutual funds around, you want to make different choices, different picks, and no matter the frequency, however often you want to do that, there's never any charge to do that. And that's
Martha may not like you.
So we don't want you to day trade your 401k plan, but technically there's nothing to stop you from doing that.
Okay, thank you.
But you don't offer full equity stocks to choose from, right? It's just the funds that you offer.
Yeah, the funds that are on this list are the ones that when you go through the enrollment process that you'll have the ability to pick from. So,
That's it.
correct. And that's by virtue of almost all 401k plans. In fact, with your current plan, my guess is that you have a menu of options very similar to this to pick from as well.
Correct. I've seen other 401k plans though where you can fully trade the S&P. So that's why that you said
Yeah,
day trade, and you don't offer something selling.
In a very small percentage of plans in the U.S., there is the ability to do separately managed accounts outside the 401k plan. Not very common, but it is doable. Not in this particular plan, but it is a function that I've seen. I want to explain the target date funds, which is the box that's smaller down below. Many people like to invest in target date funds because it's a convenient one mutual fund approach where you basically would go as a single sole choice into the vintage year of which you would reach age 65. And the reason why people like target dates is it's very much a do-it-for-me approach. They're built on a glide path, whereas very aggressively invested when you're younger, which would be like the target date 2060 fund and the 2055 and the 2050 fund, because that shows you not retiring for 30, 35 years from now. So they're very aggressively invested, and this glide path in the target date funds automatically scales it down to be more conservative over time. So the target year 2020, which means that you're potentially somewhere maybe 62, 63 years old and you're going to retire in a couple of years, is more conservative as an investment approach. So that's why target dates are very popular. And in fact, 8 out of every $10 in the United States going into mutual 401k plans are going into these target date style of investing. So we provide both. And essentially, you can be very hands-on with using our investment allocations on that larger top hand box based on your age and your risk tolerance and so forth, or you can simply choose a target date fund and that'll satisfy your investment goals as well. So any questions at all on our investment advice guide that we send out to you each quarter? Okay, very good. One of the things that I want to talk about, we're getting close to where we probably should be letting you folks go, is this paper enrollment form is also a PDF. Again, I'm encouraging you to all enroll online, but if for those of you that are not ready to save in your 401k plan, this box is very important. I'll blow it up here a little bit because we have to collect a waiver from you. And if you notice, there's 3 boxes off on the left-hand side here. The very bottom one says, I elect not to contribute into my retirement plan at this time. That will have to be checked and signed on the very next page and turned in as well as proof that you've been presented the opportunity to enroll and you just aren't ready yet. Keep in mind, if you say no now that it's January, the next open enrollment period is going to be April. So every quarter is deemed open enrollment month. And so January, April, July, and October are open enrollment months. Those are the time frames of which you can enroll in the plan and also change your deferral percentage amounts. So keep in mind it's quarterly open enrollments. You only need 6 months of employment to become eligible. And so if you started employment last August and 6 months ends up being February next month, you would then become eligible in April. So it's 6 months of employment, and then you wait until the next open enrollment period.
So percentage of contribution can't be changed except in open enrollment?
That is correct. Yep. With one exception, an individual can always go to 0 at any time. But in order to go from 0 back up to the number they were at before, you would have to wait till your next open enrollment quarter pay period.
So I want to make sure I'm going to say that question differently. In our current plan, employees can go into the system and change from 10 to 15, and then 3 months later change from 15 back to 10, to next month change from 10 to 12. There is no existing restriction on how often they can change that percentage. I don't know if there's a restriction if they take it from a percentage to 0, if they have to wait. So am I hearing that they can't make those type of changes under this plan?
So by the way the 401k plan document has been drafted, it's stated as such. Now, off the record, as a former employer of 150 people, if someone wanted to make that change, I never disallowed it. I think what happens is, by rule, it's every quarter. If somebody wants to make that change and you're able to make that change in your payroll software and you want to accommodate, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So I think I'm going to leave that decision up to you as to how you wanted to handle that. Imagine if you had a 1,000 employee company and you had no restrictions, how taxing that would be on your payroll person. And maybe that's why some of these older style rules will exist in 401k plans.
Yeah, so in our share builder plan, which this one is mirrored off of, we chose not to restrict that in our process, regardless of the suggested rule. So we permit. Let me finish. But we have had, open that people can change it as often as they wish. We have had situations, just as a knowledge base for the employees, we have had situations where employees have changed it every week trying to get it right. And what that causes is Martha has to go into the payroll system and time that appropriately. Because if you make that change in the middle of a pay period, we then have to do a whole bunch of modifications around processing the next payroll, because your payroll is biweekly. So I can see where some companies try to restrict this to eliminate the issues that come up in processing payroll based on the changes happening not at the correct cycle time, and made so often that Martha ends up adjusting everybody's payroll system every single solitary time. So today, we do allow that adjustment to happen. We encourage you not to do it every week. And if we find that it becomes, as we grow, a burden for the company to do so at will, we would implement this particular item, but for today we will leave it as it is without change.
All right, perfect.
Go ahead, Mark.
Thanks for clarifying. That's wonderful.
So does that mean you need to make a change?
No. You and I can talk about it.
I'm sorry.
Mark?
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
Danielle said that we have a plan change document. The plan document says this is what we're required to do for the employees. It does not restrict us for what we are willing to do for the employees.
Right, but I think they'll have to go through us in order to do it. They won't be able to just log in and do it.
No. They still log in and do it. If they sign up through the portal, they can do it through the portal.
Is that correct, Mark?
The only reason he's pointing out this form, because everybody signs up, no one will use this form except for those that are not going to participate.
No, but he still said that we're restricted to open enrollment to changing those percentages.
Is that correct?
Say the question one more time. On open enrollment, so
if I want to change
when you
my
enroll,
here, let me reform the question. Today, our employees in PEI can go into their portal and they can make an election change for their percentage or dollar amount in the Share Builder 401k plan portal.
Okay.
Even though the document may say, because this should be mirrored off of that document, which we will have to confirm. And if it is, if that document does say that they only do it at open enrollment, the system does not restrict them from doing so. Danielle's question is, under this new portal, based on what you've provided, would that imply that the employees would not be able to do it through the portal?
No, it's going to be exactly the same as what you're used to. You literally can change it at any time. So once you logged in, you've got free reign to change that contribution number. So that will remain mirrored to what you currently have. Yeah. So, and that falls in line with the ability for people to change that deferral percentage and do so more often than quarterly.
Sounds great.
Okay. How much time? We're going on a little bit past a half an hour. I just want to be respectful of your time. I have covered 98% of what I wanted to cover. There's a couple of other things that I can mention and could mention, but I just want to be mindful if I should or if I should end things here sooner than later.
Let's go ahead and just cover them really quickly, and then cover my question, and then we'll let everybody go.
Okay. The one thing, there's a couple things that I wanted to mention. One is your 401k plan is portable. This is your 401k account. Obviously, some of you already have 401k accounts. Some of you, even from previous employers, might have 401k accounts, and we have the ability to consolidate them into one account here, new, so that it's all together. As a former business owner, having many employees, I've had to track down people with lost accounts, and it's horrifying for me to see that someone might have $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in a 401k plan, and we can't find them because they've moved on and we no longer have an address. So the rollover becomes very important. The rollover is not going to be indicative of what's at PAI. We're going to take care of that for you. What I'm talking about is, from 10 years ago, you have a 401k plan and you've never done anything with it. Those are the kind of accounts that we want to try to consolidate. Again, portability is key, front center. This is meant to go with you during your working career. They're your monies. And with the 401k safe harbor match, all of these dollars are vested immediate. In other words, there's no vesting schedule on this safe harbor match. So once these dollars hit your account, they're all yours. And if you ever left employment, if you ever, whatever the circumstances are, you move out of state or, whatever happens, it's meant to move with you. So please take care of that type of housekeeping and all the way until you retire. The other thing I want to mention is the availability for a loan from your 401k plan. I hate to even mention it, but it is something that's important. I would never advise anyone to take a loan from their 401k plan balance. But if life throws you a curveball and it is absolute last resort, you can borrow money from yourself from your 401k balance. So just know that's an option. And, call me or check with me as to that process. But it's a simple loan form that you would fill out. You would pay that back to yourself in the form of payroll deductions until that loan is paid off. It does have an interest accrued to it, but you're paying yourself that interest back. It's not going to anybody else other than yourself. So that finalizes some of the features that I wanted to complete with. It's a fantastic benefit. Don't be the one that gets down into later years in life and said, I wish I had more time, or I wish I would have done something sooner. If you are in that middle, older age category, don't have anxiety. Do what you can and just pick up the pieces, take advantage of what you have available now, and try to save as much as you can. So that being said, David, if you have a couple other questions, that's fantastic. If not, I've finished all that I wanted to cover.
Okay.
You want to go first?
So I'm going to let, we have one question in the room that's not from me, and then I'll go.
Hi, Mark. My name is Ryan. I had a few questions around the loan and 401k rollover topics. So I joined Hott Solutions 6 months ago. I have a 401k with Fidelity. It's from another employer, and then I have a loan out that has already defaulted with that former employer. So I've talked to some tax people about what the ramifications are and how to roll over the money into a new employer account. I was just curious I know you're a financial advisor, not necessarily a tax advisor, but do you have any background in some of the new kind of tax laws in relation to paying off that defaulted loan?
So the answer to that is going to be based on a time frame. Now, since depending on when that loan was 1099, there may be no recourse at this point. My best answer is that there's a 90-day window from the time that that loan went into default that you can actually pay back that loan with outside funds. And once you prove the ability within that 90-day time period, that 1099 can be accompanied by your payment, and that suffices to make it a non-taxable event. So not knowing that circumstance of whether we're in that 90-day window, there may be some remedy to that.
So what I would suggest in that case, Ryan, maybe when we distribute the information for Mark, is probably maybe scheduling a call where you can go over the specifics with him.
Yeah.
Does that sound good?
Exactly.
So we have the ability to take out a loan and do that, because I think some of the timing you talk about, I think I have till October potentially.
Yeah, and there is some, and Mark can talk to anybody that's interested in doing a loan. There are some restrictions on the loans and values and how much you can take, and based on what was vested. So there is some restrictions around loans, and Mark can cover that with the individual based on their circumstances.
I have a full background check on myself, but I'm going to loan myself money.
I know. I want to have a credit report for me. The documentation I require is pretty heavy.
I'm not sure I'm going to pay myself back.
Exactly. So I have one question, or hopefully a final question from my side. On the employees that are currently enrolled, each of the employees that have 401k plans today with Hott Solutions through ShareBuilder, when they go through this process, I'm sorry, I guess I should back up. If they have an existing 401k plan with ShareBuilder, and they then accidentally say they do not want to participate in the new plan, is that going to cause them an issue? Do we need to ensure that all employees existing in ShareBuilder also go through and enroll in the new plan to ensure we have someplace to move their funds?
I would answer yes to that, and what I would do is have the individual enroll at a 0%. So in other words, at a zero withholding, but at least we can capture the data. And if for some reason that doesn't happen, it won't preclude that balance from being opened up with retirement plan consultants, because they're going to have the data files from PAI to create an account as a last resort. So
I wanted to bring that up just to make sure any employee that's currently enrolled that is anticipating making a decision not to continue to participate in the plan, you should still set up your new plan at 0 so that we can ensure that this roll process goes without any issues. So that's why I wanted to bring that up, just to make sure that they understood that.
No, it's a great question.
That is my last question.
Okay.
So are you going to the link and the URL so we can start doing the...
So I got the package from Mark this morning. I did not want to distribute it to people before they had this meeting and understood what they were receiving. So I will send that out after this meeting, after my next meeting, which starts in 10 minutes.
Yeah. Got it.
And what's our deadline?
And he mentioned the deadline. He would like to see everybody have this completed by Tuesday. Try to finish it by the end of day Monday, by Tuesday morning of next week.
Wow, that doesn't give you much time to think.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you don't have to take a long time to already enrolled, because you've already went through this.
Well, you have to go through and decide what your...
You already decided that in your enrollment today, right?
I guess.
So if you're enrolled in Hott Solutions, you've already made that enrollment selection. It's the same selection on the new portal. You just make the same selection.
I guess.
Or make a different one if you choose, but you've got only 5 choices.
Oh, one question. Can we change what we're enrolled in at any time, or do we have to wait for the open enrollment to move between funds, mutual funds, index funds?
You can move your funds around at any time with no cost. Yep. No restrictions.
Any other questions? And I can tell you, everybody, I have more knowledge about this subject than I probably ever wanted to have.
Simply because of the process.
So if there's any questions that you have, you know, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, Mark is a really great resource, and the reason we are, you know, doing this process and making some of these changes is to benefit your retirement and your future. That's why we're providing this service to the employees. So take advantage of it to make sure that you get the best of your investment. And that's all I have.
Yep, perfect. Thank you all for your time today. I really appreciate it, and I hope this is the first of many conversations. And my information is both Ian Campbell and myself in the signature line in that email that David's going to forward out. It's not uncommon for us to get calls pretty frequently from people, so reach out to us. That's our job. So we have view access to your account once you start getting a balance accrued and we start to see what's going on. Quite common for people to call us and say, hey, just how am I doing? So that's what we're here for.
That sounds great. Thank you, everybody, and participate.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Have a great day.
See you guys later. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.